Every morning, millions wake up to lives they never consciously chose. They open their eyes to alarm clocks, set not by passion, but by obligation. They walk hallways, lined with silent expectations. They wear clothes stitched from invisible rules, smile with practiced politeness, and move through motions as if some unseen architect had drawn their lives long before they were even born. You can feel it too, can't you? That quiet, gnawing sense that something isn't right. That maybe, just maybe, the world you call your own was crafted for you, shaped, molded, pressed into existence without your full awareness. Before you ever had the chance to decide who you were, society decided for you. Worker, consumer, follower. A cog in a vast humming machine, the rules were written long before you arrived. What success looks like, what love looks like, what a good life should be. And you were handed a script, not to question, but to perform. You might believe you are free, that your choices are your own. But what if even your deepest desires were implanted? What if the standards you chase, the fears you harbor, the dreams you pursue, are not yours at all? Friedrich Nietzsche called it slave morality. A morality born, not from authentic strength, but from weakness disguised as virtue. A life constructed not by the free, but by the fearful. Not a life chosen, but a life accepted, inherited, endured. The tragedy is not that chains exist, it's that they have been hidden so well. We mistake them for jewelry, we wear them proudly, we call them tradition, we call them stability, we call them responsibility, but deep down, a different voice whispers, a quieter, older voice. One that remembers a time before you were tamed, one that dares to ask, what if the life you are living was never truly yours to begin with? And if that's true, what would it take, not just to live, but to live as you were truly meant to? History is not just a story of kings, wars, and empires. It is a story of how human beings were taught to bow. It begins in the shadowed halls of medieval Europe, where obedience was the highest virtue. The church was not merely a place of worship, it was the architect of reality itself. It decided what was sacred, what was forbidden, who was worthy, and who was damned. The common man did not question the divine order. He did not seek to carve his own destiny. He lived under the immense weight of sin and salvation, taught that to disobey was to risk eternal fire. In these ancient cathedrals of control, Nietzsche saw the first great domestication of the soul, not through violence, but through faith, not through chains, but through ideas so deeply rooted that rebellion became unthinkable. Centuries later, the Industrial Revolution arrived. The spinning wheels and steam engines did not just transform economies, they transformed identities. Men who once lived by the rhythms of nature were now shackled to the ticking of factory clocks. The machine demanded obedience. The worker's worth was measured not by his spirit, but by his productivity. Time became currency, and slowly, imperceptibly, the soul was compressed into a cog. The factory floor was not so different from the altar of the church. Both demanded sacrifice. Both promised salvation, one in heaven, the other in material comfort. And yet, the price was always the same: surrender of the self. Today, we live under the reign of modern capitalism, where the new altar is the marketplace. The new commandments are growth, profit, and endless consumption. We are told we are free, yet our choices are dictated by forces we barely understand. We measure our worth in followers, in brands, in bank balances. We hustle, we grind, we compete, not because we are hungry, but because we are afraid of being invisible. Success is no longer a personal fulfillment, it is a public performance. The chain has changed forms, but it has not broken. From divine guilt to mechanical obedience to consumer desperation, each era has refined the art of taming the human spirit. Nietzsche warned, "Beware when you fight monsters, lest you become one yourself." Society, in its crusade for order, became the very monster it feared, a machine built to subdue chaos. and in doing so, it subdued life itself. We were not born to be pieces of a vast apparatus. We were born to create, to rebel, to dance beyond the lines drawn for us. But first we must see the chains we have mistaken for freedom. The most powerful prison is the one you cannot see. It is built not with bars of steel, but with ideas whispered into your mind long before you could defend yourself. Ideas about success, about love, about meaning. Ideas that told you what it meant to be good, to be worthy, to be safe. Nietzsche called it slave morality, a morality not born from the flourishing of strength, but from the survival strategies of the weak. Those who lacked power rewrote the meaning of virtue itself, branding strength as evil, independence as arrogance, defiance as sin. They inverted values, praising humility, obedience, and suffering, not because these were ideal, but because they were achievable under oppression. And we still carry these inverted values today, often without question. We seek to be good people by shrinking ourselves, apologizing for our own strength, masking ambition under a veneer of modesty. We are taught that it is better to fit in than to stand out, better to be accepted than to be authentic. This is the herd instinct, the primal pull towards safety in numbers, the desperate desire to blend into the crowd to avoid being noticed, judged, or attacked. But there is a cost to belonging at any price. Individuality rots, freedom decays. The soul becomes a shape molded by outside hands, no longer a fire burning from within. Today, the herd has gone digital. It lives in likes, in shares, in approval, measured by the flickering screens we hold in our hands. We chase validation like addicts, refreshing notifications, chasing numbers, believing that each click brings us closer to fulfillment. But this is not freedom. This is a beautifully decorated cage. We fear speaking the truth if it means losing followers. We suppress unpopular opinions to preserve our curated image. We measure our self-worth against illusions, against highlight reels crafted by strangers, chasing the same ghosts. The modern mind has been trained to confuse visibility with significance, attention with meaning, applause with love. We become architects of our own imprisonment, tightening the chains with every performance, every compromise, every moment we betray who we are to fit into a mold we secretly despise. Nietzsche saw this long before the first social network ever existed. He knew that the herd does not need fences. It polices itself. It mocks those who stray too far. It rewards the tame and punishes the free. And so the question stands, silent but immense. Are you living your life? Or are you merely performing a role, hoping the applause will fill the emptiness that grows each day you refuse to step outside the cage? The choice, as it has always been, is yours, but so is the price. Beneath the layers of fear, conformity, and inherited beliefs, something ancient still stirs, something that refuses to be tamed. Nietzsche called it the will to power, not the lust for dominance over others, but the deep, primal drive to expand, to create, to express life at its highest potential. It is the force that whispers to you in the dead of night, when the world is silent and the masks fall away. It is the fire that burns when you dare to imagine a life that is yours alone, untouched by the expectations of others. It is the rebellion that rises when you realize you were not born to be another obedient part of the machine. You were not placed on this earth to perfect the art of blending in. You were born to become something entirely new. You were born to create yourself, not to copy the dying echoes of those who surrendered before you. But creation demands destruction. To forge a new self, you must first tear apart the old one, the comforting lies you've told yourself, the borrowed values you never questioned, the masks you thought would keep you safe. Awakening is not a gentle unfolding. It is a violent shattering. It is the death of the false self, the carefully constructed persona designed to win approval and avoid rejection. It is the painful realization that everything you clung to for safety was the very thing that imprisoned you. Nietzsche spoke of the Übermensch, the overman, not as some distant ideal, but as the inevitable outcome of a soul courageous enough to break its chains. The Übermensch is not superior because he dominates others. He is superior because he has conquered himself. He is the artist of his own existence, the creator of his own values, the author of his own life. He stands alone, not because he seeks isolation, but because few have the courage to walk where he walks. He is not shackled by the morality of the herd. He does not wait for permission to live. He claims life, fully, dangerously, gloriously, because he understands that it was never meant to be anything less. But this path demands sacrifice. It demands the death of who you thought you were. It demands that you endure the pain of rebirth without guarantees, without applause, without safety nets. To awaken the will to power is to choose the terrifying freedom of becoming. It is to leave behind the comforting illusions of obedience and to step into the unknown, naked and alone, armed with nothing but the raw, unbreakable force of your own becoming. This is not the easy road. It was never meant to be. It is the only road worth walking. Every day, without realizing it, you stand at a crossroads. One path is paved with comfort, familiar routines, predictable pleasures, soft illusions of safety. The other path is rough, jagged, shrouded in uncertainty. It promises no guarantees, no applause, only the raw possibility of something real. Comfort zones are not heavens. They are prisons, disguised as gardens. They lull you with their warmth, their predictability, their absence of immediate pain. But beneath their flowers, the soil is poisoned with decay. Comfort demands that you stay small, that you silence the voice inside that dreams of something greater, that you trade the terrifying vastness of freedom for the tiny gilded cage of familiarity. Freedom, true freedom, demands something far more brutal. It demands pain. It demands sacrifice. It demands that you risk failure, humiliation, loneliness. It demands that you tear yourself away from the narcotic of the ordinary and step into the wild, howling unknown. It is a battle fought not in grand gestures, but in the quiet moments when no one is watching. When you choose whether to speak the truth or stay silent, whether to pursue the dream that terrifies you or settle for the life that numbs you, whether to remain asleep in the arms of comfort or wake up in the arms of uncertainty. Two futures are fighting for control over you. One future where you wither slowly, numbed by endless distractions, surrounded by walls you built yourself. Another where you burn brightly, dangerously, shaping your life with hands calloused by struggle, but alive with purpose. Safety is seductive. It whispers promises of easy days and painless nights. But sovereignty demands a different loyalty. It demands that you become your own authority, even when the world urges you to submit. It demands that you step into responsibility so vast that no one else can be blamed, no one else can be credited. Carl Jung once said, "No tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." Growth is not a linear ascent. It is a descent into the depths of your own fears, your own pain, your own lost potential. It is the willingness to endure the darkness without losing your faith in the light. Nietzsche and Jung spoke in different languages, but they pointed toward the same truth. The real battle is within. The chains are forged not by society alone, but by your willingness to remain shackled. The choice is simple, but never easy. Will you choose safety or sovereignty? The world will not wait for your answer. Every moment you hesitate, the comfort grows stronger, the cage tighter, the battle harder to win. But if you dare to choose freedom, real freedom, you will discover something extraordinary. You will find that life was never meant to be safe. It was meant to be yours. Freedom is not handed to you. It is not given by governments, nor blessed by society. It is seized. It is carved out from the living stone of fear, forged in the fires of choice, and defended in the quiet solitude where no one else can walk with you. True happiness is not something you can buy, not something you can inherit. It is not a reward for obedience. nor a prize for conformity. It is a byproduct of living authentically, of becoming so aligned with your own soul that even the storms of the world cannot tear you apart. You were never meant to live like this, not trapped in cages built by invisible fears, not sold dreams crafted by marketers, politicians, and the frightened masses. You were not designed to be another faceless echo in the herd. You were meant to live wild, to live dangerously, to create, to destroy, to rebuild, again and again, until you become something magnificent and untamed. You were meant to speak truths that crack the foundations of false idols, to feel fully, love deeply, risk bravely. The world does not need another obedient shadow. It needs individuals who have claimed their life as their own, individuals who are not afraid to bleed for their dreams, to weep for their failures, to burn away everything that was never truly theirs. This journey will not be loud. It will not be celebrated by the crowd. It will happen in the quiet moments, when you choose yourself, even when it costs you everything comfortable. You do not need permission to reclaim your life. You need only the courage to take the first step, a step inward, toward everything you have been taught to fear. Pain will meet you there, but so will truth, so will freedom. And in the end, that is the only life worth living. If this message stirred something deep inside you, if a part of you recognizes the quiet voice calling you back to your true self, don't ignore it. Subscribe to this channel, not to follow another trend, but to continue a journey inward, a journey beyond fear, beyond conformity, toward the life you were always meant to live. Join a community of thinkers, seekers, and rebels who refuse to settle for a life half-lived. Because the world doesn't need more followers, it needs more free souls, and it starts with you.